Hi everybody, my name is Hechuan Gao, and today we'll be talking about a policy that had been taking place in China, and this is a major policy that had been impactful to tens of millions of students and families across China. For those who don't know the policy that was called a double reduction policy in China for my colleagues, my students, and professor who are not very familiar with the policy in China. So this is a policy that is specifically talking about off-school tutoring, after-school tutoring. Because before this, after-school tutoring was a major industry in China that is worth hundreds of billions of dollars in China. So with the ultimate aim of course, succeeding in the Gaokao examination. As we all know that everybody in China has to take the standard test, such as the Gaokao, in order to go into good school, and therefore changing your life. Of course, in China, going to school means changing your life and changing your social hierarchy. So this policy introduced in 2021 had a major impact on everybody across China, and that is not a exaggeration. And in this slide, of course, I'm going to focus on portions of the major of the major paper I'm developing, and this is going to be in the form of a literature review. And these literary review sources, of course, will be based on very famous educators and researchers and who are conducting the research policies and researching on the benefits and disadvantages of this policy so far. And this literary review will be looking at each one of them and critiquing at the end of the policy. And that is the general framework of my major paper that I've been working on. So the first part will be, of course, talking about the history and the content of the double reduction policy, and then moves on to discuss different diverse impact on different stakeholders like families, teachers, students, especially because the students are a major recipient of this policy. Just to give you a few information before we start this whole process is that how many families are we looking at the receiving end of this policy. So in 2023, roughly 13 million candidates took part in the Gaokao, which is the aim of the tutoring industry, the aim of the education system. In 2024, we are looking at 13.5, which is the highest number in history so far. If you multiply that and make it into families, that will be like, hundreds of millions of people across China. And 2014 saw its highest number, which is this year, okay? And after the policy, it has major impact, as I said before, and there was reduction in extracurricular tutoring. So for a lot of people who don't know, this industry, as I mentioned, it was worth hundreds of billions of dollars, and almost every and single one of them at cities levels, they are going to extracurricular tutoring. Almost everybody with them, and parents spend a lot of money on it, and students have to work extra long hours to get a good score to supplement their studies at school, and this is impacting everyone. And this is one of the reasons that the government wants to introduce a policy actually to lessen the focus on extracurricular studies and shift them back into studies at school. Okay, public support. Most public are showing support for it, but of course there are always exceptions because people are still concerned about what to do, even when there is a policy, and a lot of people are still thinking about what to do before the Gaokao, because Gaokao is still there. This is going to be in the form of a literature review, and the keywords will be extracurricular tutoring. We're going to be looking at the educational equity and parents' anxiety. Yes, the Gaokao is still there. And the disparity across different regions, different city levels, and different places in the rural areas. Resources will be depending on Lady Library and the Omni and Google Scholar. And the original research question will be how effective the policy so far, and what are some of the considerations and possible references for future policy to take place. Why is this policy major and important? Because number one, it has affected almost everyone across the Chinese society. And number two, it has completely changed the life of students. Students are not as expected have their homework lessons, but some of them even have more. They get more stressed out. We're going to discuss the reasons partly in the paper. Okay, so these are the two questions that I'm looking at, and I'm gonna dissecting that across different papers and trying to come up with a major theme line on it. And the next part will be a major portion of my major paper, and this is looking at how the policy is affecting every and single one of the stakeholders in the place. Students is deeply affected, as I said. After this policy, students are working even harder, because they have got less time, more homework, and they are forced not to go to the extra tutoring centers, but their responsibilities and homework are still as much. Teachers have to force to change their behavior as well, teaching methodology, their working schedule, etc., etc. Number three is the parents are still feeling the anxiety, okay? They are supposed to be less stressed out, but they are even more. What is the policy of the purpose? Where is the purpose self-defeating? Number four, we're going to looking at the socioeconomic implications, because I said now, a lot of people actually forced to be laid off. Tens of millions of people who are involved in the tutoring industry are forced to be laid off. And tens of millions of students, enterprise has been forced to close down, including mine. This is part of the reason why I'm doing this research and showing this to you. Because my tutoring center was forced to close down simply because the policy doesn't allow it to be operating anymore. Okay, this is part of the reason we're going to look at. In public reception, and this is going to be done in form of a survey according to the research papers that I have researched. Critique is after this analysis how I'm going to be looking at the pros and cons of the policy, the effectiveness and the ineffectiveness of this policy so far. This is going to be comprising, making up most of my major paper, and because I'm using this literature review to dissecting each and single part of this policy and trying to come up and better comprehend it and make it into critiquing literature review. The conclusion will be summarizing the whole part and looking at future directions and what the future might hold for the students in the future. If this policy is going to be hold as still effective in the future, what are the major ways we can do? What lessons can we draw from it? And what kind of collaborations we can have for the future long-term success of the students? Are we going to still be burned out after this process? Okay, thank you for watching. And this literature review on this specific policy, because my literature review is based on this policy. And I'm looking forward to more suggestions from you and improve as such and come up with my final major paper on this particular policy. Thank you.